Our objectives for today's conversation are to help you engage in reflective planning strategies, to identify and use appropriate tools to arrive at conclusions with the available data sources that are at your fingertips, as well as start to identify gaps in how you will address them, whether that's training, conversations you're having in your district, or some other variation of that. The way we will be helping to reach these objectives on our agenda today is reflecting on the year, looking at data-supported decisions, how to review and plan for upcoming years, and is covering some topics on district training and support that is available to you either locally or through connecting with our teams. So as we get started, we have our first opportunity for you to join us in the webinar chat. We like to start with things that are a little bit light, and we're changing it up this time with the use of emojis that you have in your chat. So we'd love to just know, how has your year been? Give us 2 emojis that kind of sum up how you've been feeling this year, or maybe how you're feeling right now as we approach the end of the time with students on our campus and transition to what the summer looks like and our role. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat. How would you summarize your year with 2 emojis? So we've already got a couple responses coming in. It's been a whirlwind of a year. Maybe we felt a little topsy-turvy at some point. Maybe we've questioned some things. We're smooth sailing. We're excited. We've had lots of great things happen. So we're getting a few responses. Please feel free to drop in how this year has felt. A sense of relief is coming. That's wonderful to see. We've been rocking and rolling. I know for me, lots of life events have also been taking place. So I feel you, Cecilia. It's been a little bit crazy and a lot of exciting throughout the year. Thank you all for giving us a little bit of a glimpse into what you've experienced this year. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn things over to Shanna as we begin reflecting on the year.
All right. Thank you, Tara. I'm probably still trying to figure out what my emojis are. So you guys can spend the rest of the time thinking through that, because I'm going to be doing the same. All right. So before we move into like the meat of the presentation, where we're discussing really specifically about the data that you're collecting this year, I wanted to like spend a minute just to talk about how important it is to also reflect on the process that you have, your evaluation process that you put together. And I know like throughout the year, we've had several webinars where we've highlighted some of the best practices and had some recommendations of like nuggets of how you could improve your process. So just kind of checking in with you just to make sure. I don't know if you've added any of that, but taking some time to engage in some reflective process on that. So we have some ideas up here of possible ways that you could do that. I know you could like send a survey or do it at like a regular meeting, but really digging into some fun activities, possibly having the like keep, stop, start, or I've also seen the mad, sad, glad, or I think it's a rosebud and a thorn, something like that. But I love this one because it's pretty super easy. It's clear to understand. You're basically just focusing on things that worked well, what didn't. But the thing that's best, that I like best about this, is that your start column is your action plan. So I think that kind of lends itself to an easy identifying things that really worked. The fishbone diagram is or the cause and effect is more of like a visual engagement. I think it's cool working through that. Just kind of brainstorming specific problems you might want to solve and kind of work through that might have arose, come up during the year. And then also the SWOT is pretty much very similar to the keep, stop, start. You're identifying your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities that you might need to improve, and things like that. It kind of helps guide you through so you can talk through the process. But I love this, and I love possibly, bringing a group together to go through this. It goes a long way, I think, with the ownership of the process, but also just collectively being able to identify any major pain points or frustrations and just know that everybody's kind of on the same team. It builds a really good, I think, culture. And you could do this at district level, but even at a campus level. I think just really talking through at a campus level. You could, include teachers and like, what did you like? What did you not like? I love this, thinking about that culture of evaluation, because we really want to, it's all about growth. So we really want to bring the focus on that. So anyway, just a suggestion. And then on the next slide, I wanted to kind of talk through as Paige digs into some of the specific examples. We wanted to, as we were planning this, we realized that there are different views or different levels of access and things that you can glean and pull out of the report. Strive analysis tools are so powerful. And with the filters, you can really dig in and get some, great, views that you can help with your data. So these are some examples. We have the district level, we have a campus level, and then your instructional coaches. So as she's going through these, she's going to highlight some of these. So kind of keep that in mind as you're taking notes or listening to her plan. So I'm going to pass it on to Paige now, so she can dig in.
Thanks, Shanna. So we're going to start talking about data-supported decision-making, or we've been talking about it. Where does that data come from? And there's lots of different places. We're going to look at a lot of different views. And as Shanna mentioned, as you're evaluating that process, these are all the resources that you'll have. And just remember that since Eduphoria is a customizable system, if you're not seeing the data that you are wanting to see, what's the start thing that you're going to do in that diagram or in that evaluation process to start a new template or a new part of the process to give you the data that you need. So let's start looking at some of the options that are there for you to use. At the district level, and Shannon mentioned that we're going to look at some district level and some campus level options. If you're looking for trends, what trends or results did we see this year? This particular example is going to be the t-test dimensions. It's a district view. So it's looking at summatives displayed as a table with scores for each dimension. And in this particular example, I have it filtered down to only the instructional domains 2 and 3, but I am looking at all the campuses. So you can see the schools are listed over on the left-hand side, and then I have the dimensions across the top and those ratings. So when I look at this, I'm looking at a high level view, a district level view, and trying to figure out what do I see. I can run this same report for observations earlier in the year if I want to, but this particular example is looking at summative documents. You'll see that in one of the drop downs, one of the fields that I can pull. In appraisal analysis, all of these are dynamic, so you can make a change at any time. Oh, I didn't mean to look at summatives, I meant to look at observations. You can change that and your data changes instantly. You can also view the results by percentages with each of the ratings. So I'm looking at the score view. I'm seeing what was the average score in that particular dimension. But if I wanted to know for dimension 2.1, how many or what percentage got distinguished, accomplished, proficient, I can do that as well. I would just choose a different filter. Up here under the More button, there's a thing that has the display, and I would display it as percentages instead of scores, and I would get that information. By using this information, you can see if there are any surprises or trends that you weren't expecting across your district, and you can make plans to address those if they're negative surprises. But you can also find the positive things. What are the celebrations that you can pull from that data to start your year next year with a reflection and a celebration? Another way that you can look at the data is for calibration needs or that inter-rater reliability. Did all the appraisers apply the rubric equally? Right now, I'm looking at it across the district. So I'm seeing all of my appraisers alphabetically in the big list. And I'm looking again at domains 2 and 3. I could look at all of them if I wanted to. I would just change this filter right here to not be filtered down to just the 2. And I could group them by school if I wanted to. I could use this group option up here to select group by schools, and then it would put all of my people from one campus together in a group. It'll help you identify areas where you might want to dig a little deeper to determine if all the appraisers are applying the rubric in the same way, or if you need to plan some calibration exercises to get them better aligned. This will not tell you everything you need to know. You will have to dig in and see why are the ratings lower or higher with this one evaluator. But it gives you some places to look. And if you look at some of the examples, I'm looking at Krista McAuliffe here. Of all of the ones showing, and really of almost all of the ones in the whole list, she's the only appraiser who has 0% for distinguished. And there are several that have 0% for improvement needed. And it would be expected that those would be your lowest numbers, but not always 0. So is that due to the group of teachers that were assigned to that appraisee? Did she have all the brand new teachers, or did she have all the teachers that were already struggling? Or does this reflect a need for calibration between the appraisers to get them all on the same page? Again, it doesn't answer all the questions, but it definitely gives you the information that you need to go look for those answers. Did we have any lower performing dimensions? So you can look at this detailed analysis report, which pulls the data. Again, I'm looking at campuses, I'm looking at that dimension information, but I'm looking now at the individual scores, not how did the campus do overall, but where are my gaps, where are my areas of need? And so I can identify this as one of the lower rated dimensions if I compare it to the other scores that I have there. If I want to do a little bit more with this information, maybe I want to throw some formulas at it and do some calculations and do some comparisons. I can take everything that's on my screen right now and use this little download button that's up in the upper right-hand corner, and that will generate a spreadsheet that I can use in any way that I want to. And the spreadsheet is going to pull whatever view you have. So if you've applied a filter, if you've narrowed it down to specific domains, or if you've narrowed it down to a specific campus, only what's displayed is going to show up in your spreadsheet when you click that download button. But that gives you the opportunity to go in and use that data in whatever way you need for your district. You can also look to see if you have any lower performing campuses. So same kind of data, but instead of looking down the dimensions, I'm looking across dimensions to see if there is a campus that has overall lower ratings than their counterparts. And if so, I want to look at those reasons. Is it a campus-wide issue? Is it an appraiser calibration issue? Is there something that we need to do specific for that campus for next year? And you can always view the table by scores like this one, or by percentages, whichever gives you the best results for your needs. And then you can also view it as a graph. So if you want a picture view, you can do it that way. Just one note, the graphs are not downloadable, but the tables are. So any of the table views you can download as a spreadsheet and manipulate them further, but the graphs are just a view of what you're seeing on the screen. So let's talk about professional development, because I'm still talking at the district level. All of these have been things that I could look at the district level, and professional development is usually something I would look at the district level. This is the custom professional development report, and it allows you to pull all of the courses that were offered over a specific time period. I picked the school year, so I have all of the professional development sessions that were offered during this past school year. I can include any fields that I want to, including course information, participant information, and also attendance information. So you'll see I have the title of the course and the start date. These are all standard courses, but if it was an e-course or a conference session, that would show up as well. I can see the dimensions. That's all course information. And then I have the last name, first name, and campus name. That's participant information. And then the last two fields, I have the credit earned and the credit type, which is attendance information. So you get to decide which of those things you want to look at when you generate that report. It does generate as a spreadsheet, so you can do with it whatever you want to once you've pulled that data. You can filter it however you want. In this example, a filter was used, and you can see up at the top, there's a little filter icon right there showing that it's been filtered for dimensions. So it's displaying all of the courses that were offered over this past school year related to or tagged to Dimension 1.1 standards and alignment. So if you're looking at some of that other data that shows a particular dimension where we had some areas of weakness, maybe that were our lower performing dimensions, I might want to go in and look at my PD report and say, well, what did we offer during the year that was related to that dimension? And what do we need to offer in the coming year that's related to that dimension? So I can get that information and kind of figure out, what did we do last year? What do we need to do differently next year, by pulling this report and then filtering it based on the information that I've gleaned from those other reports. Okay, I see a question. How did I get the tab to show the appraiser in the far left column? I'm going to guess that's back over here. That is going to be the rows up at the top. So when you're doing you're creating your views, whatever you set to be the rows, that's what's going to show up in this list over here. And what you set to be the columns is going to show up across the top.
I'm also linking in some online help that gives an overview of using the appraisal analysis feature.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And we do have articles in our online help guide about all of these different, well, about appraisal analysis, detailed analysis, document analysis, and also some of the reports like this professional development report. Okay, so any questions about the district level things that we're seeing? Any questions? I don't see any hanging out in the Q&A, but anything else I need to share at the district level?
No, I don't think so. This is amazing. It's great. Wonderful.
So let's talk about campus level. These are all things, not to say you couldn't do some of these same reports, because you can, but all of those were filters showing all schools. So everything that I've shown so far is for every campus in my demo district. If I go to the campus level, I'm going to focus specifically on one campus. So this is the same report that we saw earlier, the same trends and results, t-test dimension example, but now we're at the campus view. We're looking at teachers' names over in the left-hand column instead of appraisers' names. We're still seeing the dimensions across the top, and we're seeing the average scores for those dimensions. But at the campus level, a specific campus leadership team can evaluate the results of the appraisal process specifically for their people. I can identify those same areas of need, dimensions, what dimensions are our lowest scoring dimensions, what professional development did our teachers attend in those particular dimensions. I can look at those same pieces of information, but I can also go across and say, okay, I think we need to focus on Robert Butler here a little bit, and also Adrian Carr, because they are two of our lower performing teachers, maybe also Felicity. Adrian and Felicity both need to be in a group, in a PLC, with a mentor teacher, get some attention from the instructional coaches, something that will help them with their ratings. And it may be that we, once we've planned our professional development to address the needs that we see, we're going to recommend that professional development for those teachers that have displayed those needs through the results that we're seeing. Again, this one is filtered down by domains, but I am seeing dimensions across the top. That's my columns. And I'm seeing this time appraisees instead of appraisers as my rows. So that's going to be my teachers. And I have it narrowed down to a single campus so that that's all the data that I'm going to see. It's narrowed down by a single campus because I did it as a district leader, and a district leader can pull this for a single campus. If I was at a campus, only the data for my campus would show. I wouldn't have access to the whole district data if I was a campus leader. We can also look at that calibration needs inter-rater reliability report at the campus level. So we saw some needs at the district level. We might also see some needs here at the campus level. And I do have some kind of big gaps here. I only have 2 teachers or 2 appraisers. Yeah, these are my appraisers. I'm sorry, I had to look for a second. These are my appraisers. I only had 2 appraisers who gave any distinguished at all. The rest of them did not. So again, are we aligned on the rubric? Or do we have these 2 teachers, or these 2 appraisers maybe were assigned to the group of teachers who are the most veteran, the most experienced, and you might expect to have more of those at the distinguished level, while the other appraisers may have gotten some of the brand new teachers who didn't have as much experience. But that's a lot of appraisers that didn't give any distinguished. So I might want to look at, what are y'all looking for distinguished, and let's do some calibration exercises to make sure we're all aligned. Again, this data doesn't mean anybody messed up. There may be valid reasons for any discrepancies that you see, but it's a good opportunity to dig in and find out why the results are what they are, and do they really mean that we need to do some calibration. But it's the same report that we saw at the district level. Now we're looking at it for a single campus. This is a campus that has a lot of appraisers. Okay, also there can be skew in a lot of different areas. It's not just about how the appraiser is applying the rubric by dimension, but also by different areas. So this one is looking at grade level. I might want to know, are my teachers performing equally or being rated equally across the board in the different grade levels? And I can see that that doesn't look to be the case. In this case, I have only 1 grade level that has any distinguished at all. That's out of 6 teachers at that grade level, but none of these other teachers at the other grade levels got distinguished. So what is the reason for that? Again, maybe it's that we have all of our veteran teachers at 5th grade and we had a lot of turnover at the lower grades, and these are all brand new teachers. Maybe it's that we have our appraisals assigned out by grade level. And so all the 5th grades are being done by a single appraiser, and the other appraisers are not in line with that appraiser. So it could mean calibration needs. It could mean I need to look at how I'm assigning teachers. Am I putting all of my veteran teachers in one place? Or am I kind of spreading them out to help them lead their teams, their grade levels? It's going to give me a lot of information that I can view. Again, I'm looking at columns by dimension. I'm looking at grade levels for the rows. That's over on the left. And then in the view, which is under the More button over here, this one is pulling by percentages rather than by average scores. And the percentages just gives you the opportunity to see the actual ratings rather than the average of all those ratings together. It's just a different way of viewing the information, sometimes highlights some different things. Were there variations between subject areas? So you can also view the data by subject area. In this particular view, it's narrowed down by subjects. We're looking at the rows are the dimensions. So I have dimensions over here. And then I'm looking at a filter to choose just the 2 subjects that I want. The columns were set to subjects, the rows were set to dimensions, and then I'm narrowing down just the 2 subject areas that I want. So it's showing me the dimensions and the ratings for those. And so I can look and see, it's going to give me an average for the ratings for the subject as a whole. And then it's going to give me the individual breakdown for each level within that. But if I look at the overall, I have 3% distinguished in mathematics, less than 1% in language arts. Accomplished is equal, more proficient in the language arts area than math. That's kind of making up for the distinguished. Again, more developing in math and more improvement needed in math. So this is really more of what you would expect a bell curve to be. I'm starting low, I'm getting higher, highest, low, and lower. So that would be my bell. That's what I would pretty much expect to see in most results. This is not quite as equal a bell. I have a steep incline from less than 1% up to 30%, and then up to 60%, way down to 7%, and then scooching over to less than 0.5%. So not an exact bell curve here. What does that tell me? It tells me I need more information. It tells me I need to know why those numbers are what they are. And again, there may be valid reasons for that, but this is good information to let you compare. I would want to compare both these subject areas, and also look at this compared to what are my elective courses like, what's going on with those, because that's going to give me a whole different set of information. Are we applying the rubric equally among the core areas? And then are we applying it equally between core areas and elective courses? And is that based on teacher experience, or is it based on appraiser, I don't want to say bias, but not applying the rubric exactly the same way in all the areas? So you can change the subjects up here to compare any subjects that you want, or if you don't filter it, it will show you all of your subject areas and you can just scroll through the list. The reason I filtered here is to get math and language arts next to each other. Otherwise it would be alphabetical. And so math, I'd have to scroll back and forth to see them, but because I wanted to see them side by side on the screen, I filtered down to just the two that I was looking for. And again, when you do that, it changes it instantly, and then I can take those filters off, back to the whole list instantly. Okay, what needs have been identified for improvement? Part of the t-test process is to identify an area of reinforcement and an area of refinement for each teacher. So what I did to generate this view is I used the document that's called the post-conference document. The observation or post-observation conference, I believe is what it's called. It identifies the area of reinforcement and refinement for each teacher based on the observation data. This is usually completed as part of the post-conference with a dialogue between the teacher and the appraiser, where they review the evidence and then they make that decision. With this particular example, I can float my mouse over any one of the dimensions and see both the number and the percentage of teachers who had that particular area identified as their need for reinforcement or their need for refinement. And what can I do with that information? Well, it's going to help me identify trends, help me identify my lowest areas. This is for reinforcement and refinement. What are my biggest areas? How many teachers need to be working on this? This has been assigned as their area. Then what professional development am I going to offer there? How can I use that information to inform my decisions for PD and for any other types of intervention that I might be planning to help the teachers? You can also look at goals and identify the areas of need based on the goals and whether or not those goals are aligned to the data that you're seeing elsewhere. So this particular view is pulled from the legacy analysis, and because a lot of people haven't seen it in a while, I put the directions over on the right-hand side to get to it. If you go to the analysis screen and you have that document summary at the top and detailed analysis in the middle, and then the student-teacher correlation, and then reports, and below that, you'll see a link that says goals and professional learning analysis, and in quotation or parentheses, legacy analysis. And then once you get there, you'll select the framework and dimensions that you want to analyze, and then you can select goals. You can select goals and PD or just PED. So you can look at how are the things aligned. This is going to give you, if you do the professional learning part here, it's going to give you just an overall number of the professional learning that was tied to a specific dimension. Whereas what I looked at earlier was the actual course list. The reason I would probably say legacy analysis at the campus level is I really don't need to know all the courses because I wasn't responsible for that. And I'm not going to be responsible for building all the PD plan for next year for my whole district. But I do want to know about my teachers and how much professional development did they attend. So running this and selecting both goals and professional learning might be helpful as well. And you'll see it shows a specific standard, and then it shows the number and percentage of users that have a goal aligned to that standard. And there'd be another bar below that if I was also showing professional learning. In this case, I'm only showing goals, but you could show both, and then there'd be 2 bars for each standard, and you'd get to see those side by side. What's nice, I think, when you see them side by side is, okay, we had 47% of our teachers who wrote a goal on this particular dimension, but only 13 of our teachers attended professional development on that dimension. Is that because there wasn't any PD for them to take? Or did they just not sign up for PD that aligned with their goal really well? So that's something I would want to kind of dig a little deeper into also. All right, what else can we consider? We've been talking about dimensions, domains, we've been talking t-tests this whole time, but as I said earlier, Eduphoria is customizable, so you can create walkthroughs for any need that you have in your district. You might have a walkthrough that you want instructional coaches to complete, and it doesn't have to use t-test language. It doesn't even have to be tagged to the t-test dimensions to get a document summary view like I'm looking at right here. It's going to give you the results for any checkbox type questions that you create. As something gets checked off in that walkthrough, it's going to calculate in part of this percentage. So I can see here that under delivering direct instruction, it was checked off 89 times, or 33.3% of the time. Direct instruction was what was observed in the classroom. And then I would, if this was a live view, which it's not, I would be able to float my mouse and see, okay, what is my smallest one? Facilitating cooperative learning is smallest. What percentage would that be? What is my percentage working in a small group? What is my percentage of working one-on-one? So I'm going to get a lot of good information about what am I seeing in terms of trends on my campus with a walkthrough that may not be the t-test language. It may not be tagged to the t-test dimensions. It could be, because some of these things are related to t-test, and you could tag it to one of the t-test dimensions, but you can use whatever language you want, and you can tag or not tag, but you can customize and get the information that you want to see as part of those instructional walkthroughs. All right, that was a lot of data. If there are any questions, please throw them in the question section. And I'm not seeing any in there right now, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to Shanna to talk about reviewing and planning.
Well, I mean, I love all of that. Like I think the Strive analysis tool is like my favorite thing ever. And I'm not a data nerd, but there's so much you can do with it. And I think that, we have it default to the graphs and the pretty colors, but like everything you presented with the tables, with the percentages or scores is really where it is. I mean, that's where the data lives. That is exactly what you need to kind of make those decisions. And I love finding some really cool data in that. So that was a great job. And so, I mean, there's a lot of takeaways that you can take from this. First of all, you want to review that process. If you are digging into to those data views and you're seeing that, there's not a lot of information that you can get out of it. A lot of what she shared was just using the rubric that everyone, has the same rubric. But if you're thinking maybe about some of those instructional goals or, walkthroughs for the document summary, just reviewing your templates, making sure that the data that you want to get and review is in there, and then making sure that it's giving you that information that you need to make those decisions about like what kind of professional learning, what kind of, what do we need to bring to the table so we can help, grow our teachers. So kind of thinking about that, we would
Can
like
I jump in with one thing real quickly? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yep.
Looking at this slide reminded me of something that I did not say. In that middle section, is the format of the data what you need? The document summary can pull from any of the question types, but the detailed analysis only pulls from matrix question types. So what you want the data to look like and which one of those types of analysis you want to use might determine how you format your templates as you're creating them. So if it's not looking the way you want it to look, if you're not getting it in the format you want, that's a thing to consider. How did I build the template? Maybe I need to build the template differently to get the results that I want.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. And also just another little add on that is if you are looking at observations, or like if you choose the type and you're seeing if it doesn't look just right, you can filter down to a specific document. So if you have more than one observation type and it looks like you're getting some weird data on that analysis, you can filter all the way down to just one specific observation. I think, and there's like a document filter. So yeah, good recommendations for that. Cool. All right. So, So moving on, I'm interested to know if any of this kind of prompted you to think like, ooh, that's a good nugget. And I'm going to take this back and do it. So like, what is your action plan? So if you did hear like Paige point something out that you want to do some further investigating, or what is your plan now to take this data, this information, drop it in the chat. We would love to hear what, if it spurred any thoughts on, if you want to use that little chat over there on the side, that would be great. If not, we could keep talking. There's so many things. I'm hoping at least that your kind of minds are spinning, thinking about what you want. You might be pulling the views right now. I don't know.
We may have lost him in the land of data.
Right. Exactly. All right. Tara, do you want to go ahead and talk about some the training and support for districts?
Yes. So as we've been going through this afternoon's topic, there's probably been lots of things that triggered. Maybe you need some support at the campus or district level for either using the information that you have available to you through appraisal analysis or the document summaries, or how do we set up this process for ourselves to be refined for next year. So I'd love to talk to you a little bit about ways that Eduphoria can support you if you don't have maybe right now the built-in local understandings to engage in some of these processes. So we offer tailored training for your teams, and we do that in a few different ways. One of the ways that we can directly support your district is through on-site training, where we would send a member of our professional learning and coaching team like Paige to your district to work with groups of educators, leaders, whoever it is you've identified would benefit from this topic, and spend a day with you going through a customized learning environment on your selected topics. We can also engage this through an online capacity where we would meet with your group through Zoom and engage through these special topics and a little bit shorter of sessions. We wouldn't spend the whole day because we know that's not our best practice to spend all day on our computers in this learning environment, but we could definitely meet with you to go over some of the topics, and we'll cover some options in just a moment. We also have lots of on-demand resources that you can utilize through things like our YouTube channel, which we spoke about at the beginning of this session, where you can find our recorded webinars as well as other short videos to guide you. Our online help guide can support your understandings and next steps. And we also have some video content that is available for teachers through a free site that we'll look at in just a moment. So one ways that this tailored training can look is through setting up training hours. And this can be for those on-site or web-based hours that we just talked about. So we really work to tailor this based on your request by helping you select topics that are most relevant for your needs. This is available throughout the year. So summer, fall, spring, whenever you're needing this training, we can help coordinate that time with you. Again, available for virtual and on-site options. And we also grant you access to our 3E digital learning resources so that you also have some hybrid learning opportunities that you can share maybe with individuals that aren't able to be present. You can review what you've learned with a live trainer. All of those great nuggets for you to recap on. So Paige, if you'll hit for the animation, we have some topics related to today's session that might interest you. So we have sessions on Strive for appraisers and Strive for teachers. So to really help you understand the process steps that your district has set up, we make sure to feature what it is your actual staff will be engaged in. So instead of just giving very general topics, we show you the local decisions that have been decided and how you would navigate those. We also can support you on building evaluation templates. So if, as Paige highlighted, the difference in what's pulled in the document summary and using those matrix questions on the appraisal analysis, if you're like, oh, I might need to review that and reestablish some of our templates for next year, this is a process we can help you on what that can look like and changes you might want to make for the future. We also have tailored training on reports and analysis. So as Paige was going through all of these wonderful data views, if you found yourself a little bit overwhelmed, not sure where to get started, not sure how to digest some of this information and what questions you would ask to make the valuable conclusions, this could be a helpful topic for you and some district or campus leadership to engage in with one of the members of our PLC team. Paige, anything else you would like to add related to any of these topics and how they connect with today's learning?
No, I think, we have the Strive for appraisers or teachers. So either one of those, wherever your need is. And then we also have professional development topics. So if you're looking at, okay, we identified some needs and we want to offer some more professional development, but we haven't used that side of Strive very much. We do have training for setting up your professional development system, building those PD courses, even creating e-courses where teachers can take asynchronous sessions, or building a conference for your district.
Thank you for those additional topics. So next, to explore one of our on-demand options, we have a free site that is geared for the teachers at your district to learn more about Aware and Strive. So for Strive, they would see how they can engage and utilize the professional learning that you have set up through your local Strive system, as well as what are they responsible for in the goal setting process? How do they review the feedback they're receiving from their appraisers throughout the year in the evaluation process steps that you have set up? So this is a great resource for your teachers to engage in. We are currently updating some of the content. We know some things have moved around within our applications and look a little different, and we are currently representing that within the site. So over the summer, this could be a great self-paced learning tool. You can target specific topics that you might want teachers to review in a flipped learning style before they attend their back to school training at the local level. So we have linked that in the presentation that will go out with the email you receive tomorrow. So look for updates coming to that site and help your teachers navigate these wonderful topics and how you're supporting them. We also have some variations of this content for administrative staff. So if you're interested in kind of a more self-paced environment for yourself, please reach out to us at training@eduphoria.net, and we can help get you connected with those topics as well.